Hey there. Today I want to take you through ClickFunnels, kind of go over the dashboard and the editor. So it's just kind of a nice little overview when you first get the program. So I'm going to go ahead and go into ClickFunnels. And it takes me to my funnels tab, which kind of shows me a rundown of all my current funnels, which aren't many because like many of you, I mostly work on other people's projects instead of my own. But it just kind of goes through, and this is where you can add new funnels and you can group them however you'd like. The next two tabs, Actionetics and Backpack, are if you have the full Edison suite, and so I don't have those in this account, so I can't necessarily go through those with you guys right now, but they're beasts of their own. Actionetics is kind of like an email service provider on steroids. It can do emails, but it can do so much more than that. Action funnels, it's the automation and all the fancy schmancy stuff. That's an Actionetics. Backpack is the affiliate program. So if you have courses and programs and memberships and things like that where you want to add an affiliate program, you need the full suite to take advantage of that in Backpack. Then you have all of your account settings and then the help section. So I'm going to go ahead and stay here in the funnels, and I'm going to add new, and let's create a funnel together. ClickFunnels gives you three options here to collect emails, sell your product, host webinar, and even to go browse the funnel marketplace if you'd like to purchase additional funnels. I personally always create a custom funnel, but that's because I work in ClickFunnels every day, so I know what I'm doing and what kind of pages I need. But a lot of times I just like to work from scratch, but that's just me. So I give my funnel a name. We're going to call this test 2. And then if I want to select a group tag or create a new one, I certainly could. So maybe I'll have a testing tag, build funnel. So when I build a funnel, it just kind of says, okay, well, it's going to be an opt-in. But here I can select the type of page I want. And then within each of these sections, there's different types of individual pages. So let's say I am just creating a simple opt-in. So I would stay here on an email opt-in, and I can even go through some of the templates that ClickFunnels has for me. And if I like any of them, I can select the template, but if not, there's usually an option right here, a blank start, where I could just do everything from scratch if I so chose. So let's say this is the one I really liked. I could just select template. And then there's two buttons here that I want you to be aware of. First is the big edit page, and the second is Edit Page in Classic Editor. Now ClickFunnels came out with a version 2 of the editor, and that's what I'm going to be showing you, but just know that the Classic Editor is there in case you see videos where the interface looks a little different. That's probably where they're working, is in the Classic Editor. And there are certain types of pages, like when you're working in some of the membership area pages, that still currently use the Classic Editor, although I imagine they'll change that to the version 2 eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and click Edit Page. And here's where I'm actually in the editor, ready to edit the page. When I first start a page, there are a few things I do. I generally go up here to the settings. Now these are the settings for the whole page. And I kind of run down the list here. So currently I don't have any integrations, and I'm actually going to go over this with you guys in another video. The SEO metadata is important, so it won't even let you save the first time without changing the title of the page. So I'm going to call this test opt-in, but you would call it whatever you wanted. And the description, keywords, your name as the author, and then a social image. So this gives me an example of if this popped up, let's say someone shared this page on Facebook, this is what would currently pop up. And that's what you're editing, is the information. If you were to share this out on social media, what would it look like? Okay, after SEO, I usually go down to the background. Okay, so if you want to have this is the background for the entire page. If you want a specific color for that background, let's say I wanted it to be red. You see how it popped up over here? It's because this whole section is smaller than full width, so you can see the background. Or if I had like a specific texture or something like that that I wanted for the background, I could add that here, or an image, but I'm just going to leave this white for now. Or even a background video if you wanted. And I also go to the typography to choose the fonts. So the content font, you could choose whatever you'd like, and then even a headline font if you wanted those to be different. Text color I generally leave, but the link color I like to change. Now it will show here some of your recently used colors, but you can always just add your hex code right here. And let's see. And oh, 3. There's one. Okay, so not all my links are going to be that color. And I like to save often because you never know. I have heard of, not as much anymore since we started getting this new editor. But back in the classic editor, a lot of times if you didn't save your work, people would lose everything if you don't save often. So it's just like any program. It happens with them all. Just be sure and save often. Although this version 2 is really nice because if you don't save in a while, it will remind you to save. And general, the only thing you want to worry about on this one, at least for now, is if you want to show or hide the little ClickFunnels affiliate badge that shows up down here in the corner. I have it set to hide. And if you ever want to take this page to make it your own template so you can duplicate it in other funnels, you can do that here. Okay, let's take a look at the editor itself here. So there is a little spot here for a pop-up. So if you're going to have a pop-up, you can have you can edit it right here if you'd like. And then the sections are basically in ClickFunnels. When you're working in the editor, there are 3 distinct areas you need to be aware of. The first one is the green sections, and these are like the big chunky sections. They don't have to be full width. This one is full width. This one you can see is not. Kind of shows you the outline of it when I hover. So there's the big green sections. Then there's the rows and columns. They are the blue areas. So this, for example, is one column, one row, but 3 columns. And this is 1 row, 2 columns. This one's 2 columns. This one is also 2 columns. Here's a 1 column. So those are the blue rows and columns. Then you have the elements. The elements are the orange areas, and they're the actual specific things you're working with, like video, text box, button, image, that kind of thing. So you have the green sections, the blue rows and columns, and the orange elements. And you can always preview your page at any time and save it as well. So when you're ready to create new, you can click the green here to add a new section, or you can simply go to Add Section, choose what type, full width, wide, medium, small, and just click and drag it where you want it to go. Let's say I wanted a little message up here at the top. Next, it's going to ask me to add my row. So when I click on that, I can select how many columns I want in that row. So let's say I want the left sidebar. And then what if I was like, actually I want a right sidebar. This is really nice because I can just go right here and drag this over and make it any size for those 2 columns that I want. Now let's add elements. We have the text elements here. So we have headline, subheadline, paragraph, and bullet list. To be 100% honest with you guys, I usually just work in headline because you can always edit the size and things like that. So I generally don't even worry about those 2. I'll just pull over a headline, and it's really nice. You can click and type like normal. Okay. And this is actually bold by default, so you might unbold it. So that might be a reason why you would use one of the other ones, is it's not going to be bolded by default. Okay, when you click on the little gear, this is when the exact settings come up where you can choose the text color. So let's say that's the text color I wanted. And you can also, if I bold it, I can choose a separate bold color. So each text box can have a max of 2 colors, basically, a regular color and a bold color. And I can change things like the background color and all that fancy schmancy stuff. Or if I decided, no, I don't want it, I'll just take down the transparency right here. If I have an icon with the headline, I can change that color as well, border color, opacity, and the text type. Right now it's the content. Let's say it was a headline. I can change it to headline right here, and it's using the settings that I already created. So I said Oswald was going to be the headline text. That's why it changed. If I want to change it back to the content text, I can do that. Or, yes, I can just change it right here. I can click and change it to anything I wanted. And then there's different options here on the advanced settings as well that you can go through. Okay. If I were doing something like the bullet list, and I click on that, over in the advanced is where I would choose what the icons actually were. And I can change, different icons for different parts if I wanted to. Let's say, oh man, I actually wanted that bulleted list over here. ClickFunnels makes it really easy where you just click and drag. You can move it here, click and drag, or I could just take the whole thing, click and drag. And then what if I was like, actually I wanted these 3 elements in 3 columns. I would go to the blue plus. See, we already did a green plus. That's how we got this whole section. But now I want to go to the blue plus because I don't want to add a new section. I just want a new row. And then I'm going to choose 3 columns. And then it's as simple as clicking and dragging each part in there. And then if I don't want this one anymore, trash it. Word of caution. There is no undo button in ClickFunnels. If you make a mistake, there's really nothing you can do about it. So don't make a mistake. No, but really, if you're gonna play with something, I would always clone it and duplicate it and then make changes before you actually delete something you're not sure you want to delete. And that's one other thing I really love about ClickFunnels is the little clone. So I could clone whole sections. I can clone the rows, and I can clone elements. And then I can just click and drag them wherever I wanted them. Let's say I wanted this one down. If I go to the settings, right here's the top margin. So I can play with the margins of individual elements. I can play with the margins of either the top margin or the padding here of the rows and even sections as a whole. Now what happens if I actually just want to deal with this middle column? I don't want to change the background color on all of them. I just want to change it on the middle one. So how would I do that? Oops, really did not want that bold yellow. There we go. That's when I go up here to the columns and I can find that middle one I was working with right here, click on it, and now I can change the background color of just that one. And if I want more space, that's when you go in and you start playing with some of the margins and padding. Okay. Okay, so let's, I'm just going to go to the orange, add an element here. So that was text. Media is just that, images and video are the main ones you're going to want to take a look at. So on an image, and I can also drag it in. When you click right here, there's a place to either grab an image you already have, search some of the stock that they have, or upload your own. So you can always click upload and select something. Add image. You can adjust it right here. Let's say, oh, I actually wanted this one really small. I can adjust that here. I can have it link to a URL if I wanted. If I'm like, that's not actually the one I wanted, I could just click and upload something else. Or if I wanted to delete this all together, I could click and trash can, so then it's not cluttering up, because once you start getting images in here, there will be a lot. You have that option. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. I thought there was a video on this page right here. So I click. There are different options: YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia, Easy Video Suite, or just HTML5 video. I like to do YouTube. I like to upload my video as unlisted, and then all you have to do is paste the URL right here, not the embed code, nothing fancy, just the straight up URL. Where is that video? I like that a lot. But I know a lot of people that like Vimeo and Wistia for more of the analytic capabilities. Okay, so now forms. So let's go to the pop-up to take a look at the form. Right now they have your full name, email address, and submits the page. What if I wanted them to split out their name? So actually I'm going to create 3 columns. And I'll pull that one in here, email here, delete that. Actually would probably make the pop-up larger. There we go. Okay, so this one, I don't want it to be the full name, so I'm going to change it to first name, and then I can change this, the wording, make it required or not required, and then all I'm simply going to do is clone it. But if I didn't want to clone it, I would go to add new element, and this is the input. So I can pull an input, and that's where I would set it as last name, change the words, and you could change the theme to make it work, whichever one it ended up being. This is also where you add a button. See, this one goes the full width and this one doesn't. If I click on the button, that's in the advanced. Right here, the button width, I could make it full width. The settings, I can change the color, things like that, what it says. Okay, so let's say I didn't want it tiny, but I didn't want it this big. The nice thing about these blue rows is that I can go to the settings and I can actually change the percentage width. So now it's not too wide, but it's not too small either. And when you're setting the action for the button, you get several of these options, like whether it opens the pop-up, whether it submits the form, which is probably what we want it to do. When someone puts in information, we want this to submit the form. When you submit a form, it will automatically redirect to the next page in the funnel. If there is no next page in the funnel, you can go up to the settings, general, and this is where you do your redirect override. So if you want to send them somewhere else after they submit the page. Otherwise, like I said, it will just automatically go to the next step in the funnel. Okay, and you can have it do certain things like scroll, hide and show different elements and sections and things like that. And if I didn't want this one, I can just delete it. Okay, and then I'm sure there's a button here, right here. This one was actually submit, but let's say I just wanted it to open up the pop-up. Oops. I could set the action to open the pop-up. So if I save my work and let's take a look, I can scroll down and click this button that I know is going to open up the pop-up, click it, and here's the pop-up. So now if I put in my information and hit submit, it would actually submit the information. Okay, next elements. So there's different advanced form elements that you could certainly add. Okay, the countdown timers. Minute timer is if, let's say, you have 60 minutes to make a decision before something happens. That's what this timer is for. So when it goes out, you can either redirect to another URL. Let's say you have a special sales page, and when it runs out, you have it redirect to the full offer sales page. That's an option. You could also have it show and hide elements. This offer is only good for the next 30 minutes. And then when 30 minutes is done, the buy now button disappears. You could certainly do that as well. And you can also set the revisit action. What happens if they come back to this page? Will the timer reset for 30 minutes or whatever you have it set to, or will it auto expire? So it's done. When they try to come back, they're redirected somewhere else. The expire action happens. Okay, then there is the countdown timer. That's if I want it to count down to a specific day and time. So you would use this in like a launch. Okay, on July 1st at 1 p.m., that's when the timer is going to run out. And you can do that for like special offers, live events, things like that. And the day timer just always counts down to the end of the day. So when someone lands on the page, you have till midnight to make a decision, and the countdown timer shows that. Content blocks are just that. They're just different special content things, like if I wanted a divider or a progress bar, or the pricing table is kind of cool. And then I can select different settings. Okay, so we were on the content blocks. We already went over the countdown. Okay, and then there's just the miscellaneous section. Social share, Facebook comments. This is handy, the custom JavaScript HTML. When you come in here, it's just simply you place your code. So let's say you're embedding a 17 hats form, or your Acuity calendar schedule, or something like that. You would paste that right here, the code in here. Okay, and that's kind of, remember last thing, save. And that's kind of the rundown. Now you can also adjust things on mobile by clicking the little mobile tab up here and seeing how things look. You have a couple options when you're adjusting for mobile. Let's say, let's see, this headline is a little too big. So what you can do is when you click, you have the option to unlink the desktop font size and the mobile font size. So I could take it and say, you know what, on mobile I actually want it to be 22, but it will stay 37 on the desktop version. So here it's larger. Same thing, you can adjust it from here. You can adjust the mobile size. By default, this is linked, so it's the same size on mobile and desktop, but you can unlink it and change it that way. If you want a whole section different, what you can do is duplicate the section and then say, you know what, this one is going to be for desktop only. That's the setting down here. And then this one is going to be for mobile only. So now I can go in and make my edits on the mobile only section. You just have to remember, if you change, say, wording or something on the desktop version, be sure and go in and change it on mobile as well. Okay, and that's just kind of there are many more things that we could do here, and I could literally talk all day, but I wanted to keep this tutorial nice and short so that you just kind of get a general overview of ClickFunnels, and so that maybe you can get in and start playing around yourself. Be sure and let me know if you have any questions. We'll talk to you later. Bye.